So starting. All right, we are live. What's up, techies? I've got two of my favorite YouTubers here, like in the circles that I like to follow. We got Michael from Tech Examined, and we got Larry with Geeky Nerd Dad, and I'm Josh, Bane Tech. We might get some other people to join up in a few. We'll see what they're up to, but for the most part, it's going to be the three of us just kind of talking about our experience with 2016 tech. There's a lot that went on, and obviously we'll talk about smartphones, we'll talk about some computers, we'll talk about just any other kind of little gadgets that we want to highlight. We got some new cameras that were released and whatnot, so we're definitely excited to talk to you guys about that kind of stuff. I guess we could probably just start with the obvious, which is going to be smartphones. And I don't know about you guys, but it's kind of hard to label a top one for me. Like there's in respects in their own ways, like really good ones for their own reasons. So what, like, I guess we could go like on paper, you know, what's the best on paper, I guess you could say, and out of like overall kind of experience, what's the best smartphone that's out there in 2016?
Well, potentially the best one should have been the Note 7.
But I agree with you there.
I think that was my favorite phone of 2016.
Yeah, I mean, I was in love with that phone when I got it from day one.
Yeah, typically the Note series is what I end up being my daily driver. Once I get through all the other phones, like that's what I end up using the most.
Same here. I'll usually buy the iPhone, and the Note usually used to come out after the iPhone, which if it would have still, maybe the Note 7 would still be around. But yeah, I would get the iPhone and I'd be all about it, and then I'd get the Note and be like, okay, iPhone just sat around. This year, unfortunately, I got the Note 7, and I remember telling Mike and the guys, I'm just like, I'm not even going to bother getting the iPhone this year because it's just not. The Note 7 is so good. I don't need the iPhone. I don't even need to mess with it. And then the week before it comes out, the Note 7 gets recalled, and I'm like, you know what? Okay, I'm not even going to mess with this. I'll just get the iPhone.
You've done that every year for the past 3 years. I remember that because you're always the second you get that Note.
Yep.
Just it was a damn good phone, and it's a shame that it had the issues that it had.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like I end up using Samsung Pay when I get a chance. I love using that. Like it's so much fun watching the reactions of cashiers. Like, oh, that's not going to work. I'm like, okay. I just got to grin at them and do the tap to pay and be done with it. Like, oh my gosh.
I don't know if it was Subway, but I had a hard time with Android Pay over my Apple Pay at Subway. It seemed like the Apple Pay worked faster and easier. And I've tried it like a half dozen times each, and every single time it seems like the Android Pay is just a step slower. I don't know.
Yeah, Android Pay is hit and miss in this area, but Samsung Pay pretty much worked on every kind of terminal there was because of that magnetic strip. So that was fun with that. But yeah, I agree. The Note 7, if you put aside the battery issue, but was by far the best phone out there that could have been available. I'd be using it right now, but I'm using the Pixel. I have a hard time even labeling that as the best phone is from 2016. It's a great phone.
Too much. It's too expensive. For being a first-run phone, it's too expensive. If it had everything that all the other phones had, and again, maybe it's nitpicking, but from the ability to wireless charge, being waterproof or water resistant, whatever you want to call it. Whatever else I'm thinking of, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it's just for something that was supposed to be, from everything they've taken and learned, it's like they took a step back.
Yeah.
Are they holding out is the question. I don't know.
I don't quite get it either. I think part of the issues was that we're like used to the Nexus line, and we have to kind of drop the thinking of like this is not Nexus anymore at all, and we got used to the nice price tag that the Nexus devices came with, and I think everybody kind of related that too much with it. But then if you look across the board with everything, I mean, it's a basic phone. There's not much too special about it. Like, yeah, they boast the camera, but I think there's other devices that are pretty comparable. It's not like I think at first there was a little bit of a wow factor, but now that I've settled into using the camera a lot with the Pixel,
Yeah.
I'm just like, it's not as good as it felt like at first.
Right. I still have better results from my iPhone 7 Plus at times than I do.
I believe you.
You know, on the phone, it looks great, you know, but the second I take it off the phone and put it on the computer, I can tell the difference between that and the iPhone. It's just, you know, the iPhone, in my opinion, is just a little bit, for my preference. There might be people that think other way, but I like the, you know, I like the iPhone for most of the stuff.
Yeah, I was glad to get you guys on there because I know you guys use the iPhone more than I do. I have a an iPhone 6 Plus for work, and that's what I use. But and my wife, she's like, "Don't spend the money on it." Like and she would be the iPhone user, like she would be the one using the iPhone 7 or whatever. But I was wondering if you guys would end up labeling the iPhone 7 or 7 Plus as the best device this year.
I don't know, Larry. What do you think? Larry, can you hear us?
Yeah, hold on. You go ahead. I got some feedback issues. I think I'm the one feeding back. Let me try to figure this out. You guys talk amongst yourself.
Yeah, I had feedback before I went live, but now it's gone. So I don't know. It might be internet connection issues or something.
Feedback to you, Josh?
What's that?
You hear any feedback?
I'm not hearing feedback now. No.
As far as the best phone, yeah, I could probably say that I feel like it might be one of the best of the year. I don't know about you, Josh, but I mean, I've been using the Pixel like as main phone.
Yeah, me too.
For everything. I've got the iPhone standby for pictures, and you know, depending on what I'm looking at on Twitter, sometimes I just can't take the Twitter apps on Android. It just drives me batty, so I have to go back to this. However, now again, whether or not this is a fault of the Pixel or Android, and it's tough to say at this time because I mean this is the only one I'm using. I get a lot of crashes on this, a lot of apps crashing on this.
Lately, I have been getting more crashes. It seemed like in the last month, many apps are crashing on me.
And stuff that's not even running, like I don't have it up. It's crashing in the background. And I'm getting a note that says, you know, like camera crashed. Or, you know, and it's not even something that I'm in. And I'm like, okay, close then.
I don't know. It might be a Pixel issue, but it also might be just an app issue. Like I know a lot of apps have they've not updated their apps to support 7.0.
That's, you know what? And that's probably what it is. And I probably shouldn't make a big deal of it.
And not the camera.
What's this?
If you're having the issue with the camera, if the camera's crashing, that's Pixel.
Yeah,
that's old school Android stuff there. You know,
then they update everything through app.
Right.
That's true. They do. Yeah, they do that now.
Do. Sometimes it is do. Oh, yeah. Speaking of the camera, what's your guys' experience with the halo effect and the panning issues?
Tons. I got tons of halo effect on the Pixel. You know, it's funny. I'll be a lot night shots. I'm noticing it in. I went to I told the guys about this on last weekend. We went to a place called Burnville, which is Christmas city lights in an area up here, and it's a whole huge area of just nothing but Christmas lights, and you know, a whole Christmas village kind of deal. And I had my Canon 80D, I had my A6300, and I had my Pixel, and I was swapping out between the three, taking pictures. And you know, if I had too much going on, the phone was the easiest thing to use. Just a lot of halo effect in the darker shots with that. So
I had this is actually my second Pixel. The first one, it was horrible. Like it was like a 50-50 shot of getting the halo going on. And so I asked a bunch of other people that had the Pixel or paid attention to social media, people posting stuff, and it seemed like it wasn't like they would run across it here and there, but not like every other time. And so I used the support app on the Pixel itself and got a second one sent to me, and it's not suffered as bad. Like I would say 20% of the time, there's a pretty good chance that I'll get a halo. But like what you're saying though, I think it happens more in the lower light shots because any light that hits it from the side is what the problem is, and it's a hardware thing. It's not a software thing.
Right. Now, I took probably about 30 or 40 pictures tonight of my daughter's Christmas party at school. Not one halo effect in any of these pictures.
You were
Yes.
inside though, right?
I was inside, yeah. But I mean, they got bright lights. They got ceiling pod lights that that
Right.
can create that. But I went to I'm probably gonna make fun of me, but I went to wrestling on Monday night in Philly.
Mike, you got school in the morning?
And his little cousin.
Wait, everybody watch this. I'm gonna blow Mike's mind. You know that's fake, right?
Yes.
It's real to me.
So I mean, I took a ton of pictures with all the the bright shining spotlights and everything, and it did pretty good. I didn't really see any halo effects in any of that, so those turned out pretty good, and that was lower light in that. So those turned out pretty good. So I guess it's just hit and miss.
Yeah. It's hard to, like, I want it to work so well, but then at times, like, there's been times where I've been inside, like taking pictures from my church, social media kind of stuff, and the stage lighting will hit the side and just totally ruin the picture. So constantly having to maneuver the camera around to make sure it's not being affected. And
when you get to that point, it's like that camera, especially on your phone, is supposed to be the most convenient one. And then if you got to totally, if that's another thing you got to, like whenever I talk about a camera on a phone or a device or whatever, to me, it's always auto. Like the V20. Yeah, I know it's got manual. It does all this. That's great if you want to use it. But the average person is pulling that out of their pocket and they're taking a picture. So to me, the manual and all that kind of stuff is a whole different section of people. The average consumer just wants to pull it out, take their picture and go. And now if you have a camera that is a flagship phone now with flagship pricing, and you got to do something special to make sure that you don't get an unusable picture on your phone, to me, it's a fail. I mean, they've failed with something. I know I thought that somebody was saying that they would fix it with some kind of software update or something, but from what everybody was saying, it sounded more like it's a glass issue or
it's a hardware issue.
Yeah, definitely a hardware issue.
I caught so much flack for calling it out with that at first too. I was like, it's not a software thing. There's no way to fix it with software. Like, give them a chance. Give them a chance. I'm like,
well, there was a bunch of larger YouTubers, I'll say, that did the Pixel review, and they talked about the camera, and they're like, oh, it's really good, blah, blah, blah. And then the halo effect is like a little side note. And I'm like, to me, that's a pretty big thing. If you, like I said, if you got to reposition yourself and you're always thinking about, well, hopefully I don't get the halo effect or, whatever. So, I was a little disappointed that more people didn't sort of call that out.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's great when it works, but I mean, it is a big deal. And I don't like, especially when you think about that price tag and you got these other phones out there that perform just as well. I mean, come on.
Things that people are being pushed on and the marketing's being pushed on that. I mean, you've got the iPhone, 7 and 7 Plus, and you've got unfortunately not the Note 7, but you've got the S7 Edge and the S7, which are still damn good phones. Those are damn good cameras. And, had I not wanted to try the Pixel, I probably would have gotten an S7, Yeah.
I've been tempted to go back to the 7 Edge, but it feels like I'm just going back way too far.
Yeah,
it's like I want something
at this point. I thought the same thing when the Note 7. I'm like, well, I'll just trade it in and get the 7 Edge. But I'm like, well, I just got rid of that to get this.
Right.
The iPhone's coming out, and then the V20's coming. So I'm like, I'll just keep moving forward and then just wait for the next iteration of them.
I had a review of the V20, and this one, to me, if it wasn't for the stinking UI and the skin and all that kind of stuff, if they would do something different with that, I could almost label that as potentially the top device, maybe tied with another device being the top one, because of it's got a great screen, it's got all the bells and whistles, but that UI just puts a bad taste in my mouth.
I never had a problem with it.
Yeah, I'm with Josh on this one, because I switched once I got that in, I was like, I need to really give it a chance, because I like the V10 and whatever, and they actually sent me a Verizon version, so I was able to swap my SIM out of my iPhone. And for me, I don't know if anybody else got Verizon. You got Verizon, don't you, Josh?
Yeah, that's my main line. I
And
got
when I
Cricket for my GSM.
do you when you swap from your iPhone to Android, does your voicemail get messed up? Do you have that issue? Because every time I go back to the iPhone, my voicemail's all messed up, and I got to call Verizon and have them redo something in my settings when I switch my iPhone to Android and then go back to iPhone.
To be honest
Every
with you,
time.
I don't use voicemail. So.
Yeah, that's what I think. Because
So-
when I tweeted that out one day, like there was crickets, and I'm like, I bet you nobody uses voicemail.
I used to use Google Voice for my voicemail, but then that all kind of got messed up a couple of years ago. But I've not used an iPhone on my main line for so long now because I have my work line that I can use an iPhone with. So that line has always been iPhone. And the only issues that I've ever heard really is like the text messaging, but you got to make sure location or find my iPhones off and all that kind of stuff. And usually
Sometimes that can be a hassle. I had that I think earlier this year too. Maybe when I switched to the V20, it took me like 2 hours to get it switched over to get my messages. But the V20, like I was saying, I used it for a weekend, and I planned on using it for a few weeks. And after I think it was one day I had it in, I'm like, I can't handle it. Like it was so slow. Like just to pull it out, like we were talking about the camera and everything, when you go to pull it out and you just want to boom, do something, whether it is taking a picture or pulling it out to check Twitter or text message or something, it was screeched to a halt every time. And after a day, I'm like, why would I put myself through this? I know enough. Yes, it's got great features, and yes, and like what you said with the Pixel camera, it's great when it works. And it's like, I had an employee that was great when he worked, but he hardly ever showed up, so I fired him. So it's like, you can only do, you know what I mean? Like that only works so often. And when you're talking about a $700-800 phone, it's just unacceptable.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Well, I thought it was okay. I didn't necessarily have any issues with it. I thought it was a decent phone. You know, I just like the Pixel and the iPhone better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as far as that goes, I think the Pixel is a very fast phone. When it comes to
that's kind of to bring up that point too about the V20. I was using the Pixel for a while, then I had the V20. And it's not that it lags like bad, like very noticeable and stuff. Like if you're coming from Samsung, you probably wouldn't notice it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But when you use anything that's close to stock Android or stock Android, you just notice the snappiness issue, or not issue, but difference.
Right.
So yeah, but I don't know. Other than the UI, the V20, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Snazzy in the comments, he's talking about the DAC and amp was worse. I didn't get to use the V10. How was it compared to the V10 with?
I was not blown away by the DAC on the V20 compared to the V10. Quinn is right. It was just I've got, you know, expensive headphones. I've got cheap headphones. I'm going back and forth and trying to hear the differences, and I wasn't blown away. I was like, the V10 is just as good with whatever they did. I thought it was great. I thought the V10 was awesome.
I listen to all my music in the lowest quality possible, so I don't know anything about DACs or good audio. I'll leave that to Quinn and his vinyl records and stuff.
Oh, pieces of vinyl.
Pieces of vinyl.
Somebody said in the chat that Huawei is stealing the show at the moment, and I could not agree less.
Not this year, last year I would say that they were on a good.
Guys, and I don't know if I'm not going to curse because I don't know if we want to keep this.
Throw a whole bunch. Want to get banned for some odd reason.
I feel like they're just throwing everything up against the wall with sticks. How many phones did they release this year? I can't even keep up. It just seems like every month they had a different event for a different phone. That turned me off. I'm like, because if I was somebody that paid $600-700 for a phone, $500 for a phone, and they chump up a brand new phone a month later, I'd be like, what the hell? You know? I don't know.
Well, with me, with Huawei or any of those type of phones, like I said, my main line is Verizon.
Verizon, yeah.
So if you're not going to go, we have 3 major carriers in the U.S., and if you're not going to be on what essentially is the top carrier in the U.S.,
yep.
To me, it's just, you know, I guess I'd feel different if I was on AT&T or T-Mobile, which isn't very good where I live.
Either.
that maybe I would feel different. But to me, if I, that's my personal thing. If you're not going to be on Verizon, I can't even really give you a shot. Some phones, if I get them in and they're review units or whatever, I'll run out and I'll get a 30-day AT&T pay as you go, plan or something just so I can try it out. Because I don't want to be one of those reviewers that shows the phone and then you look and they're telling you how great it is, but it says no SIM card or something like that, in their videos, and you're like, how is the battery life? Did you make a call on that bad boy? But so I'll try to give it a fair shake. But I mean, if I'm going to try something and really use it, it's going to have to be Verizon.
Josh, are we the only ones that notice that when we watch people's reviews? They're like, the battery life was also lasted 3 days, and they show the phone and no SIM card.
Yeah, you didn't even use it.
My battery life's awesome. I never have any data running through it, just Wi-Fi.
Battery lasts forever.
That LTE connection's just on point.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I don't know.
Use it as a Wi-Fi device.
Yeah, that's great. Every phone sounds awesome with that. So
Yeah,
I don't know. That's just my opinion. And Quinn had some good info on there. Larry, the fat guy's Mike. Huawei stupid, good hardware, terrible software, clueless at marketing in the Western Hemisphere. And he said they fired their entire U.S. staff.
Yeah, they did do that.
Very interesting.
Yeah, he made some good points there, and I can't really disagree. Like, I want them to do really well because I love the 6P when it was out.
Yeah,
like, fantastic phone.
Yeah, it was a great phone.
Well, that's what I was kind of hoping that that Google would continue with that along those lines. I mean, but it just seems like they just kind of erased a little bit and started over. So,
I guess a couple more points on smartphones and whatnot. But since we're talking about the Nexus and all that kind of stuff, and to me, like, a lot of people compare the Pixel to an iPhone, but I felt more like it was like an HTC 10 Google Play Store edition versus an iPhone like phone or whatever. Like, it felt a lot more like HTC. We all know that HTC made the phone.
I was watching somebody's video. I think it was Lou had some kind of video on, I don't know, he puts out like 5 a day, but he had one out yesterday or the other day, but it was close. The shot was close on the phone and it was only showing the top of the phone. I can't remember what video, but I go, oh, he's using the iPhone again. And then he went back and it was the Pixel and it was just the top. So I couldn't tell for sure, but I'm like, oh, okay, maybe it does really look like an iPhone. But yeah, I think you're right. I think you can definitely see HTC.
Oh yeah, it's all over it.
Yeah,
I agree. But it's my opinion. It's better than any HTC phone I've ever tried.
That's funny. Well, so if you were to label, I guess I'm going to go with the Note 7 because other than the battery issue, while it's usable, I think that was the best phone in 2016.
Jeez.
But if I were not to pick the Note 7, I'd probably just go with the 7 Edge just because they're so similar to each other, screen size and lack of an S Pen. That's about it.
That's interesting.
I don't ever really use the S Pen. I say that every time. And I want to use, like, when they do their announcement, I'm like, oh, look at all this S Pen stuff. And then I get it, and like after like a day, I'm like, I never use the S Pen.
Yeah.
Might as well glue it in.
I'll use it for the first week or two, and then I end up not using it as much.
Yeah, I just like the size of the Note 7. I like the design. That's I just like the, it was such a nice, form factor.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great, and then the pen is just there. And if I ever used it, it was just
SD card support, water resistance, and I mean that kind of stuff was pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that they brought back the SD card support.
Yeah,
and it helps with the price point too, because like I've got SD cards that you can get for real cheap and add your storage instead of paying like an extra $100 like you do with the Pixel. Because like the 32 gigs, I was like, that's too small now. I need something bigger.
Right.
So
yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I think barring the battery issue with the Note 7, which I had no issues with mine at all. It never got even warm to the touch.
Yeah, same here.
I had no problems whatsoever. So if they weren't locking it down and shutting it down, and in fact you couldn't even take it on a plane, you know, I probably would have kept it.
S Pen is the touch bar of smartphones. Snazzy says.
I've been using the touch bar the whole time we've been talking. It must be twin.
That's awesome.
I'd have to agree with you, Josh. You know, from that standpoint, from Android, you know, can't really compare Apple and iPhone to this. So, from an Android standpoint, yeah, I'd have to fall back on the S7 and S7 Edge, and then the Pixel falling in behind that. You know,
Yeah, it's very close. It's not like one just dominates the other.
I see a ton of people with S7s and S7 Edges out in the wild. So, you know, I think Samsung really pushed people to that. That were Note 7 users that I know that were heavy Note users.
Yeah.
If I can't have the Note 7, I'm either going to go back to the Note 5 or going to get the S7 Edge.
I've got a friend of mine that was in the market to get a new phone. And since the Notes, he's a Note guy, like he can Note every year, just didn't get it right when it came out this year. Tried the V20. Like the only thing that I had a hard time with was like the UI and things like that. So it's very minor and very, you know, just preference oriented. So try that out. And he tried it. He couldn't stand it either.
Yeah.
So I was like, your best bet is to go to an S7 Edge then, because you're such a Samsung guy. The Pixel, I think you'll just end up missing a lot of stuff that you're used to using.
Right. My buddy tried out my V20 as well. He didn't like it. He actually ended up getting the HTC 10. Actually, he's been using that. So
Wow.
he loves it.
I don't think I know anybody with an HTC phone.
Was it Danny Wingett? He's got
well, except for Danny, but Danny has literally 4 of every phone. It doesn't even matter.
I just remember seeing his tweet saying that, well, back to the most underrated phone of the year, the HTC 10.
Oh, yeah, because it got an update or something, but yeah, no.
That's interesting. So, but yeah, I have to agree with you, Josh. I think that's a pretty good way to put them down there. So, cool.
What other kind of tech you guys want to cover? I got the new Sony a6500. I didn't have the 6300, and it's been fun to use. It's been different.
I love my 6300. I sold my A7S II and got that, the A6300, and the Canon 80D, basically for the cost of those two, actually less. I love the 6300. I think it's great. I think it's a good little camera on that. What do you think of the 6500?
I'm not as big a camera buff as many of you guys, but I'm coming from I've been using this Lumix FZ300 for a long time.
Okay. That's a big step up for you then.
Yeah, it's a huge step up. Like just for the style videos that I've mostly been doing, I don't need nothing fancy, but I've started a small videography business on the side to where I don't do this kind of style most of the time. It's definitely cinematographic kind of style with the wedding videos and promotional videos and all that kind of stuff. So
that Lumix, was that Lumix that you have Micro Four Thirds, or was that
this one is actually it's built in. It's non-removable lens.
Oh, okay. All right, never mind.
So, but the lens itself is good for. I mean, the zoom on it's pretty sick. But yeah, like I'm starting to have to have a secondary camera and all that kind of stuff. So I'll use the Lumix for a secondary camera. My 6500, I got the Sigma 1835 on it.
I see it right there. Yeah.
I don't know how you can miss it.
Yeah.
What adapter are you using? Are you using the Metabones?
No, it's the how do you say it? The Comlight.
Oh, you like that thing?
Dude, that's the only one I've ever used, so I don't have anything to compare it to.
Focus is like slow as balls compared to, like, it was driving me nuts. I'm tempted to just go straight and just get a Sony version, an E-mount 18 to 35, because I can't take it. It's too slow.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the focus features aren't really compatible with it too, so that kind of, I'll probably end up getting something different too.
Yeah, it's different when you get I got this A7R2 and I got the 50 millimeter Sony, and then I got the 24 to 70 from Mike, and it's the focus, like for picture taking, I don't use autofocus for video, but when I'm taking photos and everything, it's ridiculous. like there's with the A7R2 you got eye focus, so you can track their eyes and focus in, and it's just it's crazy how quick and how clean it is.
Yeah, I was trying to use the ComLight with the Sigma the other day when I was at that Christmas village. I ended up taking that off and putting it on the Canon because the focus was just too slow, and I was happy with the results I got in low light with the 80D a lot. Very, very happy.
So, that's cool.
Yeah.
I've only had a 6500 for a couple of weeks now because it just came in. But just with some of the video and photo quality, I was just like amazed by with like the low light capabilities and stuff. Yeah. I shot a short Christmas video for my work, and like these are people that are not camera buffs, tech buffs, or anything like that. And there's a few shots that I did like a message from the CEO kind of thing, and they're like, "What camera were you using?" Because that looked like super professional and stuff. So I was like, that's nice to see people that don't really notice stuff notice it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a nice compact body. They give a lot of options on that, but it's so funny when you put those bigger lenses on it. I mean, you wouldn't think twice about this on a Canon, on this, but on here it's just like, what the hell? What on there? It's just a 35 millimeter, just a small camera body. So it's pretty funny, but yeah, I'm interested to see what your thoughts on that 6500 are, because I watched a couple comparisons, and I'm using it for like a secondary camera. So, obviously when I got done going over everything, 99% of the time it's going to be sitting on a tripod. So that idea of having the stabilization wasn't something that didn't interest me for the extra money.
Yeah. It interested me because I'll be using it as my main camera for the wedding I'll be shooting. So I'm going to hold up. My review is going to be after that, because like that's the main purpose of why I even got the camera and the lens and all that.
Right.
So once I get past that point, I'll definitely throw up my review about it. But first impressions, like it's been pretty fun to use.
Nice.
The touchscreen though is kind of almost pointless to me. I will say that, like for photos, it's great, but there's no touchscreen capabilities while you're in video. So with my Lumix, I could sit there and touch the screen whatever I want if I want to focus on during recording or anything like that. I'm able to do that. So I was like,
and the menus too, right? With the Panasonic using the menus, and Sony doesn't give you, and their menus are,
they're god awful.
Sony's menus are horrible, and if you could at least swipe through some stuff, it'd be a lot easier. But
yeah, but I mean, it's literally pretty much just for focusing for photos, and that's it. Or like you can pre-focus something and then hit record for video, and it'll stay on that spot. But
yeah, that's what I love about the Canon. You can do all that while it's recording. Do all that, but even that has a touchscreen, and I don't use it as much as I should. And it's so funny because I'm sitting there hitting the menus, and I realize I could just tap on the screen when I want to check something while I'm shooting, and I'm like, I always forget that the screen is a touchscreen when I'm doing that. But so it's funny Larry brought that up about the menus. I was going to ask you, what are your thoughts so far working with the Panasonic menus?
I think anytime you get some other kind of software that's going to use it, it's like a learning curve regardless. So I'm trying to give it a little bit more time before I give like a full opinion. But yeah, it's like tons and tons of pages to scroll through. I think that's the worst part about it. And when I first got it, I don't like the beeping noise or anything like that. Like I can't, when you focus on something and beep, or when you get done doing a video clip, there's like letting you know that you're done. I'm like, that needs to get rid of it. So I was tweeting out, I was direct messaging a few people that had like the 6300. So they moved all that somewhere deep into the abyss of the menu screens to even turn that off. It's not in the normal spot like you saw on the 6000 or 6300, and hardly anybody else had a 6500. So they didn't really understand where to find it, but I finally found it. I was like, surely you're able to turn that feature off. It's super annoying. Like I'm just picturing myself doing this wedding coming up, and then all these beeps going on. I'm just like, I'm like, I gotta find a way.
Blend in with no luck.
I'm like, I'm about to return this thing because I can't have that.
Yeah.
I remember when everybody made the mass exodus from the GH4 to the Sonys, and me, Larry, and Tomas kind of made the jump at the same time. And when we were trying to set our cameras up, we were like, Jesus, what the hell's wrong with these menus? And we're like, okay, I'm on the second page, and where is this at? I mean, we spent hours trying to get our crap set up, trying to find stuff, you know. It's just like, God, now you know, it's kind of second nature, but I still get to the point sometimes where I'm like going through the menu, trying to get to where I need to go, you know, and it's just like, and then I jump over to my RX 100 M4, and it's, you know, it's the same thing, and I'm like, oh, I always forget how bad this was.
Well, since we're kind of talking about cameras, we can go in a little bit different direction with cameras still, but what about 360? Did you guys, I know, Larry, you had a couple 360 cameras going on. Michael, did you get to use anything?
No, never tried it. Interested, but never tried
it.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, if you guys, I feel like at the time, like, I want to try and do this more, or I want to try to
I liked it. I liked it. See how I can put this without sounding like a total jerk. I liked it, the ease of using it, because you don't have to worry about anything, really. It's like everything's there. Everything is like a GoPro. Everything's in focus. You don't have to worry about any of that. And it's sort of really, it's something you sort of put in a position and leave it. I had an issue with that when I was walking around with it, because I would move like a vlogging camera. So I would move with it. So then essentially I'm moving the whole world around while I'm trying to, so that being said, I mean, I think it's cool. I just don't think it's far enough along in the adoption process for everyone to really, like, Lou's had some really cool videos in 360, and I haven't watched more than 2 seconds of it, because I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Look at all the effects. And I'm like, yep, that's it. Because I'm not going to strap on a VR headset to watch one person's video. If YouTube was like, we're going 360 every video, I probably wouldn't have a choice. And that's what it's going to take for there to be some kind of huge platform that's all 360. Then I can put on my goggles and just watch that for a while. But I'm not going to grab something to watch one, or I'm not going to get on Chrome and sort of scroll through, or with my phone, I'm not going to go, oh wow, this is really cool, or something like that. It needs to be easier to watch. Or there needs to be more for me to watch, to where I'm going to leave it on for more than, you know, a 5-minute video clip.
And as of late, last couple months, I've been using my TV more to watch YouTube. So it completely depletes the purpose of 360 video.
I probably use my phone 90% of the time, and then my TV 9% of the time, and then a computer maybe 1% of the time. It's really, you know, if the kids go to bed or whatever, I'm in the living room, usually I'm going to go to my YouTube app on my Apple TV, and that's it. But that being said, if I have my headphones out there, it's just as easy just to grab my phone and just sit there and, you know, and veg out. That's why I still, like, I upload in 4K, but it's so ridiculous. I wish there was the analytics to really look, because I know nobody's watching it but me in 4K. So it's like, what's the point, really?
Yeah, right. And it uses up so much data if you're even watching it on, you know.
Oh yeah, I would never. Well, I don't pay for my data, so that's not that big of a deal. But usually, if we're out somewhere, I'm the one driving or doing something or whatever, so my phone doesn't get used for that kind of stuff. But usually I'm on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I'm still unlimited data with Verizon, so I'm not too concerned.
Oh, that's
nice. They're trying. You're the guy they're trying to get rid of.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of them, along with Shane from Join Modder X, and like, he told me that, or actually Marshall Williams, that's in the chat right now, he throws up a ridiculous amount of data a month.
Oh man.
Yeah. So almost on the same topic of 360 and stuff, did you guys get to try out the Daydream VR with the Pixel?
I haven't.
You haven't? No. I'll say this, there's not too much to say, except that it's better than all the other kind of cardboard or even Gear VR. I think it's a lot better than that.
I mean, comfort-wise or
comfort, it looks better, like the viewing looks better, but also that having that remote, it adds to the experience a lot more. Because like with the Gear, you have to sit there and toggle with your noggin, and then with the cardboard stuff, like there's so many times where you have to like take the phone out to navigate, all this kind of stuff. But the remote, you can do everything with that. And like I said, too, it looks a lot better. It's not as pixelated and whatnot. So I like the direction that the Daydream's going. So they win the VR as far as like the smartphone VR goes,
Right.
as far as best tech goes.
No, I just have a hard time just having to worry about putting such a giant thing on my head. You know, it's bad enough with 3D glasses. I never wanted to put those on.
Yeah, that's never anything. I think I've seen a couple movies in 3D, and then they're like, "Oh, 3D TV." I'm like, "No, you can't. That's not a." Everybody in the room would have to like. How do you enjoy? You know what I mean? Like it never. To me, it was never. Yeah. That's the same thing with VR. Like if you're watching something, you have to stop and then share it with somebody. It's not like a. It's a very closed-in experience. It's obviously, but I mean, it's not a social. You know, you have to be like us, sitting in rooms all by yourself and enjoy it. You know, there's
you see the commercials for them, and they're like everybody's around watching them, and they're like, ah, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah, I like the one with all the little guys on the stoop, and then the old man's like, "What's that? Let me see." Oh, look! I'm like, come on, man. For one, these kids are not going to give you their phone and their thing to put on your nasty face. And then just sit there and go,
yeah, it's like I wanted my kids to, I think they would have fun with it, but trying to explain them how to navigate and stuff, I'm like, no. It's like you got to look for that certain this and no, it's just like not going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say just for best tech purposes, like the Daydream is definitely better than anything else smartphone wise that we've seen.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think it's there yet.
No, it's where it should have started. I kind of want to say that. Like I've never been impressed with the Gear VR or any of the cardboard stuff. I know it's because the pixel conversation or whatever. We're so used to such high definition that it's, it's cool to be able to look around and stuff. But
it's funny. Quinn did that video. I think it was either earlier this year or last year. Where he went to that facility that had VR, where you were in a room, a giant like warehouse. I don't know if you guys saw this or not. And
it was Quinn.
Yeah, it was Quinn. And
who's Quinn?
He had the was it Quinn? And he had the he had the VR on, but you were walking around physically. Okay. And I thought like that's, in my opinion, but that's such a huge.
That's another thing that's I don't know. Maybe I'm just too old, but I'm like, I don't want to trip over something. I don't want to be, and I'm not very. I like to see what's going on around me at almost all times. So if I'm somewhere else that's not in my living room sitting down, I'm going to be very uncomfortable. Like I'm not going to be in a, I'm not going to be able to sort of let loose type of thing. But with the VR, the only thing you were talking about the Gear. The Gear VR. The only thing when I had the S7 Edge, the thing I love the most about that is I'd keep it next to on my nightstand, and like after my wife went to bed or whatever, if I was coming to bed, I would put it on and watch Netflix, and put my headphones on and lay in bed and look up at what seemed to be a huge screen and watch Netflix. And I'm like, this is the only thing that I really think this thing is awesome for. And again, but it was the same thing though, because then I'm trying to navigate, and I never got that down.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
where to swipe and where to press or whatever. Like the remote would be a fantastic, because you just I can use a remote without looking, without
that you could play. Like I was doing shooting games. Like there was a shooting game that you sit there and point and shoot. So that that was fun. But I will say this: like I used it for a week, and I haven't really used it since I've had it.
Right.
So
that tells you a lot about the S Pen.
Right. Exactly. That's funny. So laptops, computers, I didn't really get into that. I know you guys tried out the Macs and stuff. So
I'm using the 15-inch MacBook with Touch Bar right now. This is not the nasty. Trust me, the webcam does not look this good on the MacBook Pro. That's the Logitech 920 behind it, but I'm really, really liking it. I know, the ports and everything, and yeah, it is. And I got a USB microphone and the USB webcam, so I do have a dongle on there. But so I don't know. I really like it. I like forward-thinking companies. I know I was that dude back in the day where it was like Apple's overpriced, it's crap, and it was pretty much because I couldn't afford it at the time, so it made it easier, made me feel better to just say, oh, they're crap, they're just overpriced. I can buy a PC for $50 that's just as good or something like that. But I bought my first one, and I think we just sold it like 6 months ago, and we bought it in 2013, and it was a MacBook Pro. It was a 13-inch or whatever, and it still worked as good as the day I bought it. But getting back to this one, I mean, the build on it's amazing. I know people said the trackpad's way too big because of the palm rejection. I don't know how to type like that, so I'm like this, so it works perfect for me. I'm sure my wife, who can type really well, I should have her try it and see what she thinks. But for me, it's fantastic. Like I said, I have no real complaints. The battery life isn't that great, but again, I'm one of those people that I take it to work and I have a charger if I need it, and I'm at home if I have a charger I need it. Yeah, if I was out and about a lot more, I probably would have more to say about the battery life, but it just hasn't been an issue for the way I use a computer. But I use Final Cut Pro, and it works fantastic with Final Cut. I mean, I know Adobe's a different thing, and I just don't know Adobe. I use Lightroom, and it works fantastic. I can't wait for them to get the touch bar integration for Lightroom. They just did it for Photoshop yesterday or the day before. But the integration, the quicker buttons, I mean, I thought it was just the touch bar was just a gimmick. I thought that I use keyboard shortcuts for Final Cut, so why would I ever reach up to do anything? But I do find myself, there is a few things that I think it is the right direction. I know everybody wants a touch screen Mac. I have the Surface Book that I use for work, and it's a touch screen. And I can tell you, I've probably touched it 2 times in the last 8 months that I've had it. It's just not. It just doesn't. It's not. I'll touch my phone, a tablet, or something like that. But a laptop or a device like that, I like the laptop experience. And I think the touch bar is a nice. It's an in between. It's not fully baked yet. I'm sure the second version is going to be, light years better than this one. But when the apps start integrating to this, I think, I don't know if it'll be a game changer, but I think it'll make people look a lot different at this device.
Interesting.
So would you better prefer or recommend the MacBook over the Surface?
I mean, to me, that always just comes down to the OS. I love Mac OS compared to Windows. Windows 10's a lot better, but it's still, to me, it's still Windows. I still have crashing issues. I still have issues where I can't, log on as quick as I want. Like when I go down to here and I hit Finder, boom, it opens right up. My Surface Book, which I clean, I'm finicky about my computers. I clean out like every couple of days. I'm like making sure there's no junk just to slow me down. Windows, I go grab Explorer and I click it and I'm like, and granted, if I just use Windows, I probably would never notice. Like you were talking about before, if you just use Samsung, you wouldn't notice a lag or things with the LG. But when you use something that's snappier, it's a bummer, man. It's just, you're just like, yeah, it's a couple seconds and it shouldn't really bother me, but it's like, well, right there I can go really fast, or right here I'm going what seems to be really slow. Right. So to me, it's just preference. I think the Surface Book's awesome. I don't use the pen. It's like the S Pen. I just don't. Sometimes I will if I have to mark up in my job. There's prints and stuff like that. And if something's wrong or I need something changed, I'll mark it that way and copy it as a PDF and email it. That's pretty handy. Right. But yeah, if I had to choose myself, I would go Mac OS. But you're never gonna tell a PC or a Windows user, oh yeah, you should really try this, because Republican, Democrat, you're just not going to change anybody's mind.
Yeah, I've been tempted to turn my PC into a Hackintosh just because I like the OS better. Yeah. But yeah, I haven't had the chance to really use either one of the newer, the Surface or the Mac. So I'm definitely.
I tell you what, I would love to try and get my hands on is that Lenovo Yoga book with the touch Surface. I mean, I watched Austin's video. I mean, and that thing is insane. I would love to try that out, and just see if it's something that would it would work. I think for
I just can't imagine that it would work. I know there's an Android and a Windows version. I just can't imagine that the Windows version would be any good because, like I said, I don't have the newest Surface Book with the performance base or whatever they call it, but I have the mid-tier. I think it was like $3,000. So whatever that is, it's got the dedicated graphics, the first level for that. And I have issues just doing things. So I can't imagine how what is essentially like a tablet or, like you said, my super thin. You got it. I just can't imagine something like that being powerful enough to run Windows to where it's an enjoyable experience. I think most people, I think the videos I saw said to pick up the Android, if I'm not mistaken, the Android version of it, which, like I said, would probably be cool. But I think that's limited as well. You know how it is when you get
Snazzy summed it up pretty good. It says Yoga Book is great in theory and practice.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah.
that's true.
You guys into smartwatches?
I'm trying to. I tried so hard.
I have a super smart one. It tells me what time it is when I look at it. No, I have the Apple Watch. I wear it every single day. I've had both versions of the Apple Watch. I've had the Huawei, which was probably my favorite Android one. I've had a couple I've had the Moto 360, the Samsung. I had the first Samsung Gear when it came out, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. But the only one, like Mike and I have talked about this when we used to do the podcast, and the smartwatches were really starting to boom, is unless it's something like if I leave my phone sitting on my desk and I take off, I'm coming back to get my phone. If I leave with my smartwatch off, I'm just going to keep going because it's not essential. It has to me. It has to bring some kind of essential functionality for me to really do it. That being said, I wear my Apple Watch every day. I don't know why. More than a Samsung or my Android one, I'd forget all the time and wouldn't think about it. That's probably because I have a charger that I put my iPhone and my Apple Watch on in the same one, so I grab them in the morning pretty easily. But yeah, there's even the Apple Watch I could live without. It's not gonna. It wouldn't change my life at all without it.
I think we're right on the same page with that. There's been a couple times here and there that I forgot my watch at home where I'm not even like down the block. Like I could easily turn around and get the watch if I wanted to. I was like, it'll be all right.
Yeah. It's not gonna
like
do
you said,
anything.
I use it every day, like when I don't forget it. But I've got the second edition Moto 360. And it's been a pretty sweet watch. I wish that they would have the same display that they do on the Sport Edition because of being able to read it outside really well. I don't know if you guys ever saw that, but the Sport, the Moto 360 Sport, you could see it in plain daylight because of the type of screen it was.
That's nice.
The Tick watch, I don't know if you guys ever caught wind of that watch.
I did hear.
I think Lou just did a video and somebody else too.
Is that the watch you did? I didn't get to see the video that
he had like 4 or 5 of them or something. Or you just did one too, didn't you?
Well, I was a tester for the OS for them getting ready for it. So I got the Tick one first generation in for just testing and stuff. So I just did a video on it regardless. But I didn't do it was the Tick Watch 2 that got released. And it had the same kind of display and stuff. And some of the OS, I think it was a little bit better than the Android Wear. Just some simple things like a restart button, or like you don't have to go through a ton of menus to get to the power off and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I thought that was like it has potential to become a pretty good OS, but I don't know if it ever will because it's so Chinese right now.
Yeah, it looked. I mean, like with the touch side and whatever, it looked cool. Yeah. But again, like I said, unless it could be the coolest watch ever, but unless it brings some kind of need functionality to me, it's always going to be, an accessory or a glorified bracelet, that I could just not think about when I leave it. And I know they have the ones that you can port to your phone and stuff like that. I did that the other day at work. I left my phone in my office. I was out on the floor and there was a call and I had my Apple Watch and I answered it. And I heard one of my guys when I walked away, they're like, did he just answer his phone on his watch? And I came back out after I got my phone and finished my call. And I'm like, yeah, I know. It was bad. But I mean, it was semi-convenient. I didn't have to sprint across the shop.
It's like I'm such a geek and nerd.
Well, they know. So it's not a shock, but they were just like, they thought it was funny.
That is funny.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. Well, any other tech you want to highlight? We're kind of closing in on an hour, and I know Larry is going to try to get off to go see Star Wars.
Man.
So,
I tell you, one of the things that I don't think about often, which I think is a good thing, is I got that Synology 916. It's the NAS system, the network
Heard about that.
access store. Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's something like I said, I don't think about. It's always there. It backs up. I back my photos from my phones to it, which I still do to Dropbox, but I'm trying to get rid of Dropbox because I can use this as a cloud system as well. I just haven't made that full commitment yet. But it's got apps. Like I have the app on my Apple TV, so I can watch all the movies and TV shows that are on there. It's got apps for the phone. It's just something that I never really thought about until I got in, and I'm like, well, this is awesome. It's got RAID storage, so I'm redundancy, so I don't have to have. I used to have 3 or 4 different hard drive systems with everything backing up to everything to make sure. One time I had a computer crash and I lost all of our pictures of my wife. So I try to be as redundant as possible, and something like that is it's something like you said, you don't think about it, but it's probably one of my favorite things of 2016.
That's cool. That kind of reminds me, like I still need to get like the Google Home and the Alexa and all that kind of stuff just to try it out. Do you guys have any of that kind of stuff?
I have Google Home, and I bought it. I think I got it the first day, and it is. The kids love saying, "Okay, Google, play the Trolls song," or "Okay, Google, play this," or "Okay, Google, play that." Yeah. That's really all we use it for. It's in the living room, and we play music on it, and the kids dance around.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. It's like, it seems cool, like if you could take full advantage of it, but like how often would you use all the features and stuff?
I'm quick to grab my phone.
Programming, like I'm trying to remember who it was. Jordan Keys, I think he had some kind of video where he programmed his like Christmas lights or something like that to turn on or something. I was like, that's pretty cool, turning stuff into a smart home kind of stuff. But
yeah, I got it hooked up to my Hue. I have Hue, just the regular, not colored bulbs, but on all my outdoor lights. So yeah, I can say to do that, but for those, I just have them on set at a timer system through the Hue app. So it's like
it's even more effortless. Yeah.
Oh, but the other thing, and Mike, you got it too, the Google Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I love it.
It's really, really good. We both had the Nighthawk 6200 or 6300 router, the crazy, but I mean, I got one on my desk over there. I got one on the other side of the house, and I actually, just because I bought the 3-pack, I didn't even need it, but I put the third one in the garage, so for the yard and everything. And I haven't had any issues. The Nighthawk was really good, but I would lose 100 gigabytes download from my desk where it was set up to the other side of the house, which is not a huge house, and it's going from 200 to 100, so you're never even really going to see the difference. But still, you could see there was a degradation. And now, yeah, it's cool, super easy to use. The app is awesome for setting up. But
yeah, I'm probably going to try to get one too, because I've got my Wi-Fi in my living room, but like where I'm at right now is my master bedroom, which is on the direct opposite side of the house. So it's really the perfect piece of tech I could get right now.
Yeah, I think it's really, really well done.
My biggest issue is I've got the basement, I've got the first floor, and then I've got the second floor. And with all that, it's like almost 3,000 square feet, 25.
Hey, back up. Calm down. Jeez.
So, and I've got it in the center down here, and then I put the other one up in the kitchen, which is the center of the house. And I've got good upstairs, but I still want to put a third one upstairs. I just bought 2. Still waiting for Amazon to ship the 3-pack that I ordered, which seems like weeks ago. So, see, but yeah, I'm happy with the speeds I'm getting on that. No issues watching any longer videos. I mean, you can scrub and go right to 15, 20 minutes, and it doesn't skip a beat. It's absolutely yeah. So
I think we've covered a ton of tech with 2016. Just to maybe take a couple minutes and like, what are some things that you want to see for 2017? Anything like that needs to be fixed, or just something that's like a practical reality that you're looking forward to?
Oh my.
Obviously no blowing up batteries.
Yeah, I mean
You would think you wouldn't have to say that, but
I know.
You know what? I would like to see them focus on battery life for phones. I would like to see them, and from what I've read on batteries, I mean, they are testing out batteries, that will last tenfold,
Mhm.
weeks. But I've also heard that that's years away. So, I'd like to have a phone last 3 days.
Right. I was like, can we get the happy medium?
Yeah, can we get 4 days? I just don't know if that's, anything on that. And let's stop worrying about thin phones. Let's stop worrying about, trying to get the largest phone, the thinnest phone. I'll take a thicker phone for a better battery if that's what you have to do. That's
I'm with you on that.
I'd love to see that.
It's like if you're going to choose between the Moto Z Droid versus the Force, it's like I'm going to go with the Force because it's got the bigger battery.
Bigger battery, right? And that's something I'd like to see and focus a little bit more on that. The camera's good enough right now, in my opinion. Skip a year. Let's focus on that stuff for once. But I don't know if that'll ever happen. They think thinner the better.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to see them focus on for 17.
I mean, you can't get much thinner, so
no.
Well, we say that every year.
Yeah, we say that every year.
And then the next year, it's like,
yeah, that's true.
And the funny thing is, I don't know if people notice that the Pixel is thicker at the top than it is at the bottom. I don't know if anybody ever notices that.
I think that's just to make sure they didn't have a camera hump.
The camera hump. Yeah. Exactly. So.
Yeah.
Or if you want to hold your door open, one or the other.
Yeah, as a wedge.
Yeah.
Durability test. Yeah.
I'm really to see what they've got. What the thing is at CES this year, which I think I'm 90% sure I'm attending. So.
I'm hoping on a prayer that I can go, but it's not looking very good for me.
So I'm interested to see what the next thing is for the year, if anything, or it's going to be another one of those where they're honing in on what they think people are interested in, the VR stuff, and I don't know if TVs are going to get any larger, other than just I would like to see a better interface on TVs. I think LG is it's probably one of the better ones.
WebOS, best phone OS ever. Yep. And from what I've seen it on TVs, it just looks amazing.
Best ever.
Yeah,
I'd love to see a WebOS phone come out next year. That's what I'm hoping for. When somebody asks, I'm going to say a WebOS phone, and 90% of people look at me and go, "What the hell is a WebOS?" Yeah. But I'm telling you, I have I've
got an LG smartphone or a smart TV, and yeah, it's fun to use.
Yeah.
I would like to see them integrate more of and then again, this will never happen. And if it does, it's going to have to be like a whole conglomerate. When you have an Apple TV or one of those type of devices that work in conjunction with your TV, I want it to work with my TV. Like, I want to be able to be watching my cable box and go to my Apple TV and search on iTunes for a movie while I'm watching TV. Because I find it, unless I know what I'm going to watch, I'm going to go when I go and watch it. But if I don't,
the problem is, I think the technology of that is easy.
Yeah,
but it's all the different networks and cable systems and dish systems, and maybe AT&T will just buy everything, and then we won't have a choice, and we'll be like, please, and they just do it. And we're like, we love monopolies. Just AT&T keep buying everything to integrate everything together. Like, I think Apple wants to do that. Like, they have the TV app on the phone now, and on Apple TV, I think it came out last week. I haven't used it yet, but on the phone, everything's in there almost. Like, they don't have Netflix yet. And Netflix is a huge thing. I use Hulu and Netflix, and I use iTunes for TV shows and movies and stuff, and everything's in there, but there's no Netflix yet. So it's like, well, then I can't use it for everything yet because Netflix is holding out for some reason. There's no Amazon Video on Apple TV or it is on the iPhone, but it's not on Apple TV. So it's like all the things that I use aren't on everything that I use. And I think Apple would love to do that, and I'm sure Google as well would love to have one integrated thing where they could just say, you go to this app, and here's everything. And if you want live TV, you can pay us $10 a month, and we'll give you your local live TV. And I would be, and some places are trying, like DirecTV has a little something, and the PS4 has their little thing, and everybody's sort of got something, but I don't think anybody's figured it out. And I'm sure a lot of Josh's fans will choke the fat guy in the Voltron shirt for saying this, but I think Apple will do it or has to do it first. And maybe Google will improve upon it, whatever Apple does. But
I wholeheartedly agree with that. It takes Apple to make everybody else move.
It really does. And I think if they can get it and they can get deals worked out with NBC and CBS and Comcast or whoever else, and they can and get a blueprint for how it's going to work, I think that's the first step, and then everything else will happen after that. And then hopefully in a couple of years, we're laughing about how we used to pay $100 a month for DirecTV.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's the same concept with the no headphone jack. I mean, it's everybody else is going to start going towards that now.
I don't know. I like using wireless. I always have. I just get better. But it's funny, Larry. We talk about this. Integrating it into the TV and doing all that. There was that smart TV. The box that was out years ago that had that integration with all of it, but they had all the, I was watching football and baseball and everything on that. And it was like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. And then all of a sudden it all got shut down. The network.
Well, you were illegally doing it. Yeah, that's why it got shut down. It wasn't some big, like the company went under. It was, you got caught. But that being said, like Apple TV, I can almost do everything. I can get my home and garden, my Food Network and all that, but I have to be logged in with my DirecTV account. So it's like, well, I could turn off Apple TV and just go to these stations, but the Apple TV interface, like I can just go through the list of shows and pick which one I want to watch. I don't have to wait for it or go to on demand, which is ridiculous on any platform. But so it's there. It's just, they just need to work out some deal where, they pay DirecTV $10 for every 20 I give Apple or whatever it is. I mean, I'm willing to pay a certain amount of money for that internet TV feature. But I think that'll be the next big innovation. I hope that comes in 2017. That would be,
I'd like to see
over
that.
any device or anything. I would love to see something like that. Really, like I said, it's just the first step of it. It may not be the perfect one, but at least someone to get that first step going.
The ecosystem just tied everything together. That'd be awesome. And we're kind of starting to see some steps towards that. Like, maybe towards more of the Google side with how we got Google Home, we got the Google Wi-Fi, you got, they're starting to kind of put these little pieces in place. So maybe we'll start seeing more. But yeah.
Like I said, I think it's just getting the cable companies and networks on board to say, and I think they're learning. I think they're seeing it's sort of like the music industry. They fought so hard against Napster and online music. And then it was like one day they woke up and like, that's the future. We have to figure out what we're going to do. Okay, we'll start releasing singles on iTunes. We'll start doing and it really was iTunes, like we were talking about, that got that ball rolling. And like I said, I think it needs to be something like that with
we're starting to see, I don't know if you've seen this, but like news stations, they're starting to put a lot more of their stuff on like YouTube and places like that.
Facebook Live, stuff like that.
They're trying to reach the masses because they know people aren't watching TV as much. And it's easier to get out, jump on your phone and do that. It's convenience.
Snazzy, you in the comment section of the night for sure. I can't imagine a world where Comcast isn't a douchebag. That's awesome.
Verizon.
I'm surprised. Like, you see DirecTV and AT&T in bed together, and we know that Verizon and Comcast are, but they're still like not. It's like they're an unhappy couple kind of thing. Like we're just trying to work through stuff because we have to. But I don't know. Yeah.
Well, even if Comcast doesn't want to come along, it's just going to take one of the larger ones, whether it's Time Warner, DirecTV, or however. Well, I guess DirecTV will just stick with AT&T, but whoever is going to sign with Apple or Google or whatever and say, okay, we're going to give them what they need to try to get this going. It's going to be like we said, just with iTunes. It's going to be that first record label that said, you know what? You're right, Apple. This is the way we're going to go. We're going to sign with you, and then it'll show the other people like, okay, we got to move in this direction, or we're going to get left behind.
And they would make billions, not millions.
Oh yeah. No, the money's there. There could still be advertisement. Like Hulu, I believe it's $7.99 per month or $8, whatever it is, and then you can pay, or you can pay $12 for no commercials. And I pay the $12 for no commercials, just because the convenience of it. I'll pay a couple extra dollars. I pay for YouTube Red. I can't imagine, like my credit card. I got a new credit card, a new PayPal card, and there was like a couple weeks in between, and I was watching YouTube like, who can watch YouTube with commercials? Like, it's just like, it doesn't seem like I've had Red since the beginning. It seems to me like the commercials are longer. The skippable part seems longer. Maybe it's not, but it seems like there's not as many skippable ones, and the skip is a lot longer than it used to be. And like I said, I don't know if it is or not. But like I said, I would pay to not have commercials, or have or you have 4 commercials for an hour show or whatever it is. Then you just deal with it.
I agree.
Sweet. All right, guys, I think we're just going to go ahead and wrap this up. We've talked a while now. It's over an hour. It's fun to talk about tech, that's for sure. Yeah. There's a lot that happened in 2016. I was just preparing for this. I'm just like, we could spend episodes on this.
Talk about the best stuff. I mean, we could do it again. I mean, there's so much.
Well, we can wrap up the best and the worst, and it's the Note 7.
Yeah.
Quickest show ever.
We should have just left it with that. That's pretty much the truth, though. It's ridiculous. Yeah. The biggest flop of like tech is the
that I can really remember. Like, some stuff has come out and it's been really crappy, and you're like, oh, what a horrible thing. This was like the best thing to come out and the worst thing to come out. Like,
yeah, it's like, who set you up? Who sabotaged you? Because they screwed you. I mean, it's like nowhere near as bad as Bengate. Like, that's just that could happen, and it doesn't affect your safety or whatever. Being burned,
taken off the market, that was the flagship of flagships, and just be completely erased from existence.
And the timing of it for them as a company to beat the iPhone to market and do so well and be so universally loved. And then the week and a half before the iPhone drops, you have to have a recall. Like,
that's what I'm saying. It's like they had sabotages written all over that.
Yeah, but just, I can see Tim Cook somewhere like, hey, just like rubbing his hairless cat, like,
doing a total George Bush.
It almost makes you wish that, like, Samsung, you need to quit hurrying up the releases. Like, it used to be the Note 7 would be coming out like in, what was it, November?
November, yep.
And so it's like, have you hurried up your process too much that you're missing out the details that are important?
Yeah.
But anyways, hopefully Samsung will learn their lesson, and like, you hear them talking about trying to come up with the S8 sooner than what they would release it, and just like, no, just take your time.
Yeah. Take a breath.
And release something awesome and let everybody enjoy it, and not have to go through the headache of returning it.
If that would have taken down a commercial plane or something, it would have been the worst. I mean, they would have been the most hated company.
Yeah.
I don't come back from that.
No. So. All right. Well, Larry, go enjoy Star Wars. Let everybody know how it goes. Hopefully,
I won't let anybody know. I won't spoil anything.
I'm just saying, if you liked it, you can.
I'll give you a thumbs up or thumbs down. That's all I'll give you.
I'm sorry. Did I say Omar? Sorry.
He got unfollowed. I don't care. Don't spoil something for me 2 days before it comes out. Unfollow. Sorry, Omar.
I'm glad.
That's all good. Well, you guys have a good weekend. Happy holidays.
Right, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, it's fun to talk to you guys. We'll try to do something like this sometime soon.
Sounds good.
You're coming in, folks.
Yeah. All right, guys. Everybody have a good night. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. And we'll catch you guys next time.
All right, guys.